that want to come and people that want to come and learn and understand how process is done, how things get accomplished, and how we get to where we want to get to in life. We often think about these things. We brainstorm, and a lot of these brainstorms just turn into dreams, and some of it we don't live to see. So I would like for us to be able to start to live to see our dreams manifest and be able to do the things we want to help others, because I know that we're inspired to. I know that we have experience and we have a mindset of know-how and ingenuity, and we know how to do things together. We need to come together and just share, which is what we're doing now. So welcoming everybody in, welcome on in.
Thank you.
Yes, yes, indeed. Welcome. We're going to give it one more minute and then we shall begin.
What's up, y'all? Peace and love, everybody.
Peace.
Peace. Peace and love.
Peace, my man.
Anybody want to send a salutation or greeting? Now would be the time.
Hey, what's up, my people? It's Dr. K. I'm originally from Detroit. I always got to say that, even though I've been in Cali for years. And you guys, obviously, I'm down with the cause because I'm here sharing this time with you. So let's get it.
Amen. Amen.
Hi, I'm Paulette. I'm the founder of Jumping Juniors. It's an all-girls organization on the south side of Chicago, where our main program is Double Dutch, the inner city of Chicago, and we are trying to stop the violence here in Chicago on the south side.
Amen.
I'll go real fast. My name is Ishmael. I have a podcast called Dad Is Not a Noun. It's all about changing the narrative for men of color of fatherhood, as well as changing the narrative for the things I care about, as well as I'm a part of the nonprofit organization out of New York called the Real Dad Network. They're the oldest nonprofit organization in the country that's dedicated in changing the narrative and giving resources to Black fathers. They're based out of New York.
Show me money. Oh, good. Put it on your skin.
If we can, please, if we're not speaking, keep the mic on mute. If you do have something to say, simply unmute your mic and say it. But if we're not speaking, including myself, we just, please, I'm asking because there's going to be feedback and things, and we want this to be really clean and clear for everyone speaking. So even as you're introducing yourself, just unmute and speak. Hello.
Yeah, my name is Really G. I'm from UK, and I'm down with you also with the Stop the Violence movement. I know the Stop the Violence movement, the first one, right, when it starts. So yeah, I'm always down to help in a cause too.
Youngest in charge, I'm the oldest in charge.
Yeah, here we go now. Okay, well, it's 7:05. We can start now. We've given everybody ample time. Oh, Scott, excuse me for cutting you off, Scott. Go ahead. Could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Scott Blum. Scott Cares Foundation, sit on the board for a seal. Actually was on the phone with Miss Kittles today from 24 Hours of Peace. Amazing phone call. And she got us earmarked for tomorrow, Ed. So we're good to go.
Amen. Okay, with that being said, everyone, I would like to begin this Knowledge Cypher. Welcome to the Knowledge Cypher. This is basically an engagement session where we can all learn. As adults, as whatever, all ages are welcome. I see we have some younger individuals on the phone as well. Or we all looking good, that's all it is. But welcome one and all. And this is going to be about community engagement, government relationships, grants, career opportunities, etc. And Skip Townsend has elected to join us and lead this conversation. And I just want you all to know that everyone wants to sell something. Everyone wants you to buy information. No one wants to tell you the plain truth. This is what we're here for. We want to share information with each other, and just tell the plain truth about what is and what exists and what we can do to help ourselves here. We are in a situation where we have the blind leading the blind a lot of times, and it's time for us all to educate ourselves. Before I hand it over to Skip, quick story from me. When I was at the height of my career, I was probably 5 years in, and I was looking around at houses, and they treated me like, a young minority wasting their time. You know what I did? I went to the New York Real Estate School, signed up for the class. Couple of weeks, took this test in the class, then I took the state test and passed instantaneously, first try, and went and bought my own house. So this is about empowerment. I don't care who you are as far as in life or where you think you've gotten to. You can always educate yourself. You can always do more. You can always empower yourself in other ways. When doors close, I open another one and I go in that door. And when I finished and got my license, I went to a nice little Jewish couple, ERA Peskin, gave them my license to hold, and I went out and got my property. And the rest is history. You know what I'm saying? As far as what I do as far as real estate and investing and just my interest in the game. I was making videos, selling records, going on tours, and I took the time out to educate myself and get that license so that I could do it. So it's just about empowerment and motivation. And that's all I wanted to share. So for everyone on the line, welcome to my world. Skip, thank you for coming. And if you can, please, kind sir.
Yes, sir. First of all, thank you all for being here. I give honor and praise to God every time I'm able to speak in front of a group this large. I'm truly honored and humbled to be a part of this training exercise or this open dialogue that we're going to have. Real quick, I do want to share that something that Ed just said is that I'm not going into this thinking that I'm going to give you information that you don't have. My day and age, we used to go into a library. And when I go into the library, I'm looking for a book, and the librarian would tell me the book is there. But what I have to do is I have to find it because it might be out of order. So what I want to share with you guys this evening is some things that you might already know, but they just might be out of order and you might not have been using it. So I'm going to share with you the examples that I've used to be successful. I'm in Los Angeles, California. I have a nonprofit called Second Call, and it took a long time to get to the level where I am now, where I have like 34 employees, and I'm dealing with state contracts, federal contracts, city contracts, and also contracts that are dealing in school. I see that I have Curtis Blow on the line, so what I want to do real quick is tell you guys how I even got into this circle. There was a movie being filmed in my neighborhood called Slipping with the Bloods. And when Slipping with the Bloods was in my neighborhood, they were getting all the youngsters drunk, and they were talking about who they shot, who shot at them, who they shot back. And I seen Curtis Blow get out the car and walk over, and there was a young lady in my neighborhood who could rap really good. And I said, hey man, produce her, put her out there, get her going, man. Take her to New York or whatever the situation is. And KB said, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna show you how to do it. So instead of him giving me dinner, he actually taught me how to fish, took me to the studio, taught me what production was, introduced me to Melly Mel and other people, and helped me to where I became a producer. Didn't make millions of dollars, but still was able to help the community members in my community have different tracks and resources. So I just want to be thankful for that. Thank you, KB, for that. And now here I am, some 30 years later. So what I want to start with is, I want to start with the fact that California may be different than other places, but I know that there are 4 things, and I'm going to ask you guys to take notes. There are 4 things that have to be done in order to even start a nonprofit. So this came about because I go to different meetings, and in the meetings, people say, this is what we need to do. People say, hey, we need to do this and give back to the kids. We need to have a building. We need to get contracts. We need to do this. And everything that they're talking about doing, I've done already. And I've been a part of other organizations that have done the same. So in 2006, I decided that I was going to stop the violence in my community. And the way that I was going to stop the violence is I was going to get everybody in my neighborhood who writes on the wall and shoots at people, I was going to get them a job. There's an organization out here in LA called Homeboy Industry. And the guy, Father Greg Boyle, talks about jobs and not jail. So I got a van. I have a little Honda. I sold my car and got a van. And I put all the drive-by shooters in my van. And I took them to go get jobs. And what happened is they would show up high. They would show up late. They worked maybe 1 week and quit. A lot of them said it's too far. It doesn't pay enough money. So I realized that what I had to do is I had to do the work myself. So there are other groups, the Urban League out here, NAACP. There's a group called the Brotherhood Crusade. And when I would send the youngsters to them, what they would do is they would teach them how to tie a tie. They would teach them how to write a resume. So these guys would be back on the block about 8, 9 o'clock at night. They'd have a tie on. They'd be smoking weed, have a gun in their pocket, still sagging, but they got a resume in their back pocket. You know, so they would be like, man, I'm so grateful. Thank you, Skip. You really showed me something. Say it again. All right, yeah. So they would have a tie on, they'd be sagging, but they still had a gun in their pocket. They still have a blunt in their mouth. And I knew they weren't hireable. So what I started doing is I started sitting down with them and having trauma-informed life skills. Started talking about how do you deal with anger? How do you deal with emotions? How do you deal with low self-esteem? How do you deal with depression? Especially as young men and boys who are fresh out of jail, fresh out of prison, got their own families. They don't want to identify with even being depressed. They say, oh, I'm just tired, or I'm sleepy, or I like to drink. But it was easy for me to see what they were running to. But what I wanted to do is see what they were running from. What situations caused them to smoke and drink and do these things? And that's how I started the nonprofit Second Call. So I had to work with other agencies, other organizations. I was real close with the council member in Council District 10 in Los Angeles. And he allowed me to use his office space. I didn't have a business license. I didn't have anything from the state or the federal government. I just created a name, and he allowed me to do that. What I had to do is I had to go to work for another organization, which had a contract with the city. And as I worked with them, they did not teach me what a budget was, what a budget summary, budget narrative. They didn't teach me any of the paperwork, how much my insurance would cost, how I can get around workers' comp and things of that nature. They taught me none of that. I went to work for them and they wanted to give me a ceiling, and they didn't want me to go above that ceiling. So what I had to do is I filled out the forms for our IRS. Everyone told me I had to get a 501c3. So I want you guys to look at what it is you want to do. What is it that you want to work with? Some of you will work with churches. Some of you will work with community centers. Some of you will work out of your own home, using your own funding for a while. So look and see if you want a 501c3. Do you want a 501c4? Do you want, what type of nonprofit do you want to have before you start filling out the IRS form for a nonprofit? Because there's limitations that apply to some that don't apply to the others. And that's the federal government. That's not including the state, and that's not including the city business license. So here in Los Angeles, I have a business license for the city of Inglewood, and they charge me $4 a year. City of Inglewood that has SoFi Stadium, the Forum, it has the Rams, the Chargers, you know, they're building the Clipper Arena, the Intuit Dome, and they only charge $4. So this is because I have a nonprofit. For profits, they probably charge about $180. So beware that the price is going to change depending on what it is that you're applying for in the city. In the federal government, back to that IRS form, is 28 pages. And let me tell you, the beauty of it is that I got a 3rd grade education. So when I filled out the paperwork for the IRS, I made plenty of mistakes. And there was a lady who called and told me that I had 2 weeks to correct the mistakes. And she walked me through it. She said, on page 5, you said that your budget would be $1 million. And then on page 25 or whatever, when we asked you how much did you have in the bank, you put 0. So what I did is I gave them my idea of what I want to work with. I want to work with $1 million. I want to get $1 million budget. But on page 25, it was reality. What do you have? And I didn't have it. So she walked me through it and told me, go back to page 5 and make page 5 match page 25. Because if not, we're going to charge you $850 for the $1 million that you're working with. But I didn't have a grant. So what they did is they gave me about 2 weeks to get it right, resubmit it. And it took me about 18 months before I got my status. It's a letter that comes from the IRS that says they have determined that my organization is a nonprofit and I'm good to go, in the United States. However, being from the state of California, the only start I needed was to go to the Secretary of State. And that's no matter if you're in New York, Tennessee, no matter where I heard Chicago, Illinois, no matter where you are, go to the Secretary of State. And the very first thing, and it cost me about $35, is I told them that I want to have a nonprofit with the name Second Call. So when I went, they asked me, there's a short form now, yes, indeed. So yeah, I'm talking about 2006. But what they had me do was they asked me for $35 and they looked up to see if that name was available for the state of California. And when it was, I gave them the money and they sent me downstairs. And when I went downstairs, I went to the Franchise Tax Board, and the Franchise Tax Board charged me another $35, $40. And it took maybe a week, 10 days to a week before they sent me the paper and said that I have a nonprofit within the state of California. It didn't take much more than that. I filled out the address. The thing about the Franchise Tax Board is they have a card, at least for California, where they want to know who are my board members, where do they live, and do they get paid? So let me tell you, 1 year, I didn't fill that out. I just kept going year after year. And they suspended me. And the total cost was $18. So I was suspended and couldn't collect any money, get any charitable money for a year or so because I didn't pay the $18 and fill out the card. So I've learned my lesson. I tell people that even though the Franchise Tax Board, they just want to see, and this is before I made any money. I was making less than $20,000 a year with the organization. And now they just want to see the taxes. They want to see has the taxes been completed. And if the taxes have been completed, I submit them, I fill out the form, they charge me $25, and I go on about my business. And it does not matter how much money I have. So these 4 things are the most important that I want to share with you guys, is that in whatever state I'm in, I want to first go and get the Secretary of State. I want to make sure that I can have the name that I want. I want to apply for it. I want to get it. The second thing I want to do is go to the Franchise Tax Board in that state, and I want to register as a nonprofit. And I want to, every 6 months, I want to check with them to make sure that my status is straight. So that's Secretary of State and Franchise Tax Board. The third thing, for me to be able to get money on a federal level throughout the United States, is if I have the IRS 501c3. So that might take some time. I've known people who've paid $500 to $1,500 for paralegals or something to fill it out. I share with you that it took me 18 months with my level of education. However, if you have the money and have the ability to use somebody, or you might have the knowledge yourself, it could take anywhere around 6 months. It does not have to take over a year. But lastly is Department of Justice, the charitable trust. That too comes from the state that which you're in. And the charitable trust, Department of Justice, is just a state entity, but they're also checking the federal, making sure that the IRS is up to date. They're sort of like the police. They want to make sure that your IRS is good, your Franchise Tax Board is good, Secretary of State is good. And also what I didn't mention, which is number 5, is having a city business license. Really simple. I'm in the city of Los Angeles. They charge like $85 a year for a business license. City of Inglewood charges me $4 a year. City of Pasadena charges like $16. So even though you might be in Chicago, what are some of the other cities that are close by that you might want to work with? Some of you are in New York. You might be in the city of New York, but what would it take for you to get a business license in one of the suburbs there as well, Manhattan or something else? I don't know if they're still the same, city of New York or what, but I think it'd be good to have the business license in any area that you're looking for to work. Now, when I started getting contracts, it's because I worked for about 5 or 6 years for free. Everybody doesn't have to do that, but I want to just give you guys a point, because I hear a lot of people saying, oh, we'll just get a 501c3, we'll get the grants, we'll pay for everything. And that is not the case. It just don't work. That's in a perfect world, and this world isn't perfect. So what I've had to do is I had to build my relationship with the council member, and he's sitting there watching me, and he knows I'm doing everything out of my car, out of my truck. So he knew that I wasn't ready for a grant. So he told an agency, hire Skip and we'll pay you to do this work. So he gave the agency the money that he wanted me to get. And of course, I got a smaller portion. That's good. If you guys have a nonprofit and you've never received money before, there might be, say, $1 million, $2 million that someone, a philanthropist or the state, might want to give to you. But what they'll do is they'll give the $2 million to an organization that's much larger, the NAACP, the Urban League, or whatever the major organization is in your city, and they'll give it to them, and then that organization will tell you that they're going to give you $25,000 a year. It's very disrespectful. It's called poverty pimping, but that's the way to partner on these grants so that I could put my name on the grant and show that I've been able to handle and work with a certain amount of money. Because with absolutely no experience, and most of the grants are written based on at least 5 years experience of doing the work. So if I have experience, but it's not documented, then I can't prove that this is the work that I could do, even though these other agencies might be riding my coattail to get this work done. Does everybody understand that? All right, I don't want to do a monologue. I want to do a dialogue. So let's go back over these 4, or matter of fact, let me add 5, because I'm also adding the city fees as well. So let's go back over these 5 entities: the Department of Justice, which is charitable trust, the Secretary of State in whatever state you're in, the Franchise Tax Board, and the IRS, along with the city permits to do business in their city. Are there any questions on that? Anything that wasn't clear? Anything that's different maybe in your area than is different in mine?
Yeah, I have a question, Skip.
Yes, sir.
I just formed my nonprofit last year, and I understand the journey because I'm on it. I want to know though, because I'm working nationally, so I may get hired or partner in another state. Like for instance, we're doing some things that will involve some touring, perhaps. So, how would that work as far as me doing business with my nonprofit in those states? Do I need a business license in each state?
No,
Each
you
city?
don't need a business license in each state, but I'm in California and I'm doing business in Georgia. I had to get the commissioners from Georgia to give an okay to, I had to get the commissioners in Georgia to give an okay to us doing business in Georgia. I have employees in Georgia, so the taxes are different. So if I pay my employee in Georgia $20, well, in California, I got to take a certain amount out of her check to pay for, the FICA, the health and all that, but it's different in Georgia. So I have to register with Georgia that I have employees, and now I'm taking this amount based on what they're telling me as far as the state guidelines. So I have to adhere to the state guidelines, but I don't have to have a personal license. However, I do. We're in LaGrange, Georgia. We're in Troup County and Cobb County in Georgia. And I did, even though a lot of our training is done online, I did it anyway, because I want to be able in those cities to ask for funding for the work that they need done as well. So
Correct.
I would suggest you do, but it's not necessary. I don't believe you're going to be fined or anything if you don't.
Absolutely. I
But
appreciate
make
that.
yourself eligible for whatever money is in the cities you're working in.
Hi, can I just jump in here for a second? Hi, my
Please
name
do.
is Chaka Blackman. This is a wonderful conversation. This is my line of work. Ed invited me, and I didn't know that this would be so close to what I do. But to answer your question, Ed, in addition to what was said earlier, is you might also want to look into a certificate of authority, and that allows you to do business across state lines, because we work with a lot of businesses that do business in New York as well as New Jersey. And typically the recommendation is to look into a certificate of authority.
Now, let me ask you, Shaka, is that going to be nonprofit and for-profit or just nonprofit?
Both. We work with nonprofits as well as for-profit entities. And typically that's sort of the best practice.
All right.
Thank you.
I had a quick question too. Because I have a nonprofit since 2005, and I know we just opened up a branch in Georgia, so I had to go to the Secretary of State. But Skip, I had a question for you. Did you ever have to, or are you familiar with a solicitation license or that form?
Not quite sure, but anything with solicitation, I would believe came to me from Department of Justice. I think that's something from the charitable trust. And like I said, they're the authorities. They want to make sure that we're able to solicit money.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the form said, but yes, that sounds familiar.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Skip. Again, my name is Paulette. I'm from Chicago, and I'm the founder of Beautiful Beginnings to Lasting Legacies, also known as Jumping Juniors. So I started this nonprofit in 2020, and I am having a very hard time getting like grants. So most of my funding come from individuals, friends, and family donating 25 here, 50 there. We got like two $5,000 grants last year and a $10,000 grant. So I started the process again so that I can get funding for our program this year. And they want to know who else have funded us before, or like over 5,000. And so nobody really wants to fund because nobody has never funded us. So how do I get over that? The fact of, and then they ask for a 990. I always fill out a 990 in because we have never had receipts over 50,000. So
Right.
We're like stuck.
Same with me. So listen, you have your pen out?
Yes, I do. And I'm a nonprofit accountant too. I have my master's in nonprofit. So I'm very familiar with a lot of these terms and everything and the way that things go. It's just that the fundraising part and the funding is
Write this
not
number
working
down.
out. Okay.
310 area code.
Okay.
486
Okay.
3059.
Okay.
This is Melvin Hayward II. He is the executive director of Chicago Cred. So he has multi-millions of dollars. He is getting money from the city, and he also gets money from philanthropy. And he has different organizations that he funds to reduce violence in Chicago. And the one thing I would do, so let me tell you, Melvin is my friend, but let me tell you what most executive directors would do. He will get a grant, like say if he sits down with you and you guys talk about the specifics that you do, what you work on as young ladies or women or whatever. And if he doesn't have anything, he'll go for a grant for about $5 million for that. And when he gets the grant, how much money is he gonna give you, Paula?
If it's specifically for me, he'll give me,
Specifically for the women, to work with women and young girls.
he
What's
will
he gonna
give me 5 million minus probably an admin fee that he's gonna charge.
All right, so don't call him, because most executive directors are gonna feed their organization with that 5 million. And you would probably get 50 to maybe $100,000
And that'll work too.
per year. So
And-
that I say that
that would work
because
too.
for me, it was disrespectful, and I argued, and I fought
Yeah,
when they were
yeah.
getting $2 million and making sure I got 25,000 a year. However, what it did is allow me to say that I have had a budget of $2 million. Even though I was a partner in that grant, it read that the grant was given to Second Call and this group. So what
Okay.
it'll do is give you your resume.
Okay,
It'll give you your resume
Okay.
that you have
that's
worked
good.
on a grant that was worth $5 million. And you can take that and use it as now you will start applying for your own without him. And what'll happen, that might be a 3-year grant, a 4-year grant. And at the end of the 4 years, he'll say, hey, let's do it again. And now you can say, no, not
Right.
at the money you giving me. If you get 5 million, brother, I'd like to have at least 2.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? It gives you your leverage.
Yes.
But what I have to do is I have to accept, and please forgive me for this term, but it's called poverty pimping. So I got to accept the part that I'm not the pimp in this situation. I'm the hard
Right.
worker on the street, just so I can get to the point where, and let me share with you guys something real quick. And I see your hand up, George. I'm gonna come to you next. But what I saw happen to me, there is the mayor of Los Angeles. She was a congresswoman, Karen Bass. And she called on the phone, got her assistant, get Skip on the phone. And she said, I want to give you $100,000. That's what she said. I want to give you $100,000. I said, what do I have to do? She said, the work you're doing, love it, keep doing it. I said, great. When she got off the phone, her secretary called the Brotherhood Crusade out here in Los Angeles and said, hey, Karen Bass wants to give Skip $100,000. Can you guys write the grant, do all the paperwork, make sure he gets it? They immediately said, yes, we'll take 50%. So now my $100,000 conversation went to 50,000. And because they are going to be my fiscal agent, they also wanted 10% to handle the finances. So let me just share with you, she was a congresswoman in 2020. She said, you guys will probably get the money April of 2021. Right now, we're in February 2023. I haven't got the money. She came home, ran for mayor. She's the mayor, and I talked to her last week and said, I never got the money. So just know that eventually I'm gonna get this $45,000, but that is part of how this works when we're talking about federal. I never applied for federal money. I've only dealt with the city and philanthropy and different schools, the prisons, stuff of that nature. So by being the lowest person on the totem pole, sometimes the poverty pimps will take advantage of the work you do, especially if you were here. I don't work with, I got 85% of my organization is women, and we have classes for women. We don't do what you do though. So I would do the same thing. If you were out here, I'd say, well, let's try to get $1 million for it, so I can make sure you got 20 or 30,000 for what you do. So please don't be offended. Brother George, would you unmute yourself? And what was your question?
Peace and good evening. Mr. Townsend, thank you very much for this information. I think it's very much pertinent and needed. I am currently, and it's funny because I'm about to start my work. I currently serve probation parole, and I am actually thinking about starting a business. And my question to you is, with everything that you're saying, and also to the young lady that you just spoke to, do you feel like these things that you currently went through and what you kind of suggesting, it's happening more so because you are a nonprofit opposed to an LLC? Do you feel like there's more of a upper hand if you are LLC doing the business that you are and offering the services that you do, but do you feel like they tend to not play with people's money more so because you're LLC opposed to a nonprofit?
Yes, sir. I totally agree with you. One of my mentors is Jim Brown, the football player, he created an organization called AmeriCAN program. So he has AmeriCAN program, which is a nonprofit, but he also has AmeriCAN Foundation, which is for profit. And here in Los Angeles, the AmeriCAN program was getting very little money. So he went out to philanthropists, and what they did is they want to give him the nonprofit money. But when he went back to Cleveland, when he went to Florida, he's using his AmeriCAN Foundation. I was told to have both, to have my nonprofit and my for-profit. I see Shaka shaking her head, so she's probably more knowledgeable on that than me, but people had told me to have that nonprofit and for-profit. So one of the founders of Second Call, one of my partners, what he did is he bought a dump truck and found that he could make about 30,000 in the dump truck. And I said, that's great. Second Call, we can train people how to work the dump trucks and we can make money off of them. And he said, no, brother, no. He said, the only way I do that is if we came up with a for-profit. He said, I split the money, but he said, I'm not doing the nonprofit work because he'd rather pay the taxes and make more money than to have less taxes and have less money. So it all depends on, is it a passion or are you serious? So going back, think about Michael Jordan. He had a passion to play baseball. That was his passion, but he was serious about basketball. So, you know, what is the passion? Is the passion to help people? Because there's no money can fill my heart. But if I'm serious about it, then I'm gonna have my for-profit because I want to make money and I want to make sure that I'm building and eating at the end of the day. So I think it's up to you, but I would definitely suggest that for everybody to think about having a foundation as well as a program. Like to hear your feedback, Shaka. I see you shaking your head.
I didn't want to skip Curtis Blow, but
I didn't see
since you so we recommend both. And the reason being, I'm in, like I said, the tri-state area. And I don't know if this is sort of permeated the rest of the country, but there's something called minority and women-owned business enterprise status here in the tri-state area. And so I'm an LLC, but I'm an MWBE LLC. Now you have, New York City has made a commitment to working very closely to make sure that MWBE for-profit entities get city funding. The mayor is very clear on that. And so to George, I often recommend if MWBE status is a reality in your municipality, actually doing both, because you can crack that code through your LLC as well.
All right, and I see Curtis had his hand up. I want to also go to what you just said. We call them weebies out here. It's minority business and women business. So the difference is a minority business enterprise and minority business enterprise and a women's business enterprise, sometimes referred to as FBE. But especially if, like say, George, if you're a married Black woman or indigenous woman, there's more credits given to her. You know, and I worked on what out here we call it Section 3. So I was a job coordinator for rebuilding the Jordan projects. You guys might have heard of them. They call the Grape Street Crips, right? But they're tearing the projects down and rebuilding. And I was responsible in 2020 to getting the local people hired. So that's not just the labor, but it's also the businesses. So what I had to do was go through a list of all the businesses that were local, that were women owned, also minority owned, and give them the first chance at whether it was the dirt, the dump trucks, whether it was janitorial, whether it was the landscaping, whatever it was, that was a subcontractor. I had to go through them first and make sure they had the information. So if you had, and those are for profit. Those are all for profit. So it was nonprofit money. Well, it was the city money, but it was for profit. Right. KB, you got your hand up, brother.
Actually, it's Curtis Bow Jr.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, hi everybody. Great call, riveting. I wanted to speak a little bit I had a question about the grants, and you said it was very hard to get a grant when you haven't got one before. So what would be the steps that you should take before you go for a grant so that you're in the best place possible to receive, I guess, the biggest amount of the grant?
Right. So I can't tell you what you could do to receive the biggest amount of the grant, but I can tell you this. This has happened to me several times before where I've been asked to come into an office and talk about the work that I do. And what they'll say is, how long have you been doing this? And when I say I've been doing it 7 years, they'll write that down. What is it that you exactly do to make this happen? And I'll give them word for word what is going on and how I do it. And then as I'm leaving the building, after they ask me 1,000 questions, they'll say, Skip, there's a grant coming out. And this is going to be the requirements. Everything that I told them is required. So now when they put that off to RFP, which is a request for proposal, anybody who proposes has to be doing this work 7 years like I have. They have to do it using transportation and, interacting with the unions like I have, or using the park, whatever it is that I told them I'm doing. This is in the proposal. So who qualifies for this proposal is me. So when looking like how do you get the biggest chunk, it's based on a relationship. It's based on who is the grant written for. And if I've been doing this work 7 years and I'm comfortable doing this work, and you've been doing it 2 years and you don't have that track record, you're younger than me. So they might be listening to you. I'm stopping the violence. You might be better at stopping the violence. I can only work with this group. You could work with 3 or 4 different groups, but you don't have the track record that I have. So therefore, I'm gonna get the funding. You might be better at doing it. But because I have that track record. So the only other way to get the funding is not through the grants, but through having, there have been people like Jay-Z, there have been people like Beyonce who gave money to the Trayvon Martin Foundation. And I take nothing away from Ms. Fulton and Mr. Fulton, but they weren't doing the work prior to Trayvon being killed. So I worked with a group of mothers called Project Cry No More, and Mothers Against Everything They're Against. But they did not, and they've been doing the work for 20 years, but they did not receive the money because they did not have the backing of the people, the Russell Simmons, who also gave the money. Beyonce gave the money. So they raised $2-3 million within 8 months of their child being buried. When there are mothers who have been marching and going to different city council meetings and going to the state and advocating for different things, and they haven't received any of it. So that just goes to show that it's not so much of the work you do or how well your work is. It's really about relationships. And once you start building relationships with the city officials in your area and they able to call on you by name, then money will be earmarked for you. Like I said, I got a phone call 2-3 years ago giving me $100,000, even though I never got it, but still just getting that phone call was major for me. So you have to do the work. I did the work volunteer basis. I did the work with no money, went in my own pocket to do a lot of work. I think that's what's necessary too, is getting your name out there. People have to know when it comes to certain things, people got to know that you're the one, whatever it is, the work that you want them to know about.
This is great. Can I chime in right now? Skip, this is Coco.
Yes,
First, I want to thank you for just sharing all the wonderful information. And I also wanted just to add to anyone in this room, if you do have a nonprofit or a for-profit, I would highly encourage everyone to register their entity with SAMS.gov. I know Skip is speaking about the local money, but SAMS.gov, there's a lot of federal money out there that is just sitting and waiting for organizations. It's earmarked for businesses that are minority owned, that are women ran, for veterans. If you have a business that is located in a certain underserved city location, and it's SAMS.gov. Now, the process, I will be clear, it does take a while, especially since the COVID pandemic, for you to register, but they do have a number for you to, they do go through the checks and balances as far as making sure you are, you have an address, a phone number. They're going to ask you all those things, but I would just, if you're not familiar, SAMS.gov, write that down. And register your entity. Once you are registered, they will classify your entity. Again, they go to step marks to make sure that you're registered. But once you are classified and you have received your entity number, you will be able to receive and get access to government grants and government contracts. And it is a process, but they also have a database. And as Skip was talking about, once you are registered, and this is, I guess, this is like a secret, and as what Skip said before, it's about relationships. But once you have an entity that has gone through the steps and has gotten registered with SAMS.gov, the government recognizes you as an entity. And now you have access to funds, because if you are accepted for a grant or a contract, you've already set up with your bank account information. So they don't have to go through anything. They can directly send you the money if you meet certain qualifications. And as what Skip was saying before about getting grants, the great thing about SAMS.gov is something that I do. And this is, I've had my business for over 10 years, but I just found out about all of this stuff last year. This is why I'm sharing it with so many people, and this has been around for years, is that they have a database that you can go into daily, and you can see what grants you can grab it off and see what grants have been approved, what proposals have been approved, what money is out there. And a lot of people who I know who do have nonprofit organizations, they look at this list daily, because you can sort it out and you can see, wow, they have $250,000 that they're giving to nonprofit organizations who have a program helping young mothers learn a new skill. So if you have a nonprofit organization, you can implement a certain program within your organization so you can qualify to get those funds. And that program can be underneath the umbrella that you already have. It's a wealth of information, but I would highly encourage everyone just to go and sign up for SAMS.gov. Go through the steps. It is lengthy. It might take 3 to 6 months, but once you have that entity, and here's the thing, and I love what Skip had said before, that there are a lot of people out there who don't meet the criteria of a minority-owned business, who don't meet the criteria of certain earmarks that are there. So what they do is they wait for people to get approved. And if Skip is approved, they're going to go to Skip and say, hey, Skip, they're going to use your credentials to get and if Skip already has access to getting that $500,000 grant, they're going to say, hey, we'll do the work for you. So at the end of the day, Skip's organization, he's got the money, but he can subcontract the people to do the work. So there are so many things out there, but again, SAMS.gov for businesses, nonprofit, profit, even if you're an individual, because the government pays people to do, they can't pay anyone directly. They always have to pay a third party, but they can only pay those third parties that are signed up through SAMS. And also, again, there are a lot of people now who just give money to these government funds, and that money is disseminated and then given to organizations through SAMS.gov. So again, if you haven't, Shaka, are you familiar with SAMS.gov? Okay, yeah. So
grants, yeah, we spend because we do fundraising for New York City, and so part of it is we spend hours on grants.gov every day sourcing opportunities, even for municipalities. So you're right, 501c3s. Minority and women-owned enterprises, and even city and state agencies can all find information there. You're absolutely right.
Yes, indeed. One of the things that you just said, Coca, that really resonated is, so you guys know LA just built a SoFi Stadium for the Rams and the Chargers to come back to Los Angeles. It was built about 2-3 years ago, right? The company that built it is called Turner Construction, and they do not self-perform at all. They don't have any carpenters, no electricians. They don't have any construction workers. What they did is they bidded for the grant and they subbed everything out. So that is available too. Like when you're talking about sam.gov, or you're talking about LA Bavin, a minority-owned business or whatever. So I'm gonna go back to you, George, when you talked about having a for-profit contract. So let's just say that, I don't even know where you are, George, but if I tell you that in the city of LA, they're building this freeway and they need dump trucks. They need 10 dump trucks at 6 in the morning to carry the dirt, and they need them for about 4 days. You can, from New York, Tennessee, wherever you are, you could hire 10 subcontractors to be there at 6 o'clock, and you could receive the $100 per hour for each truck. But at the end of the 2 weeks when they're done, you just got to pay them $50 and you just wait on your money. That's the beauty of having the for-profit as well. I could do it with the nonprofit. I just don't have the money to do stuff like that. I can't, hire 10 guys at $50 an hour, and I just can't afford it and make my own payroll. But these are some of the things that happens when you have multi-billionaires in the industry. And the one I'm thinking about right now is Turner Construction built the Ram Stadium with absolutely not one carpenter, one plumber, one electrician. They subcontracted everyone. They paid millions of dollars to each one of these companies and waited to get their money on the back end, which is I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Okay. So I just want to make that clear, that that's one of the beauties of being able to sit and look at the different grants that are available, because as she said, if I go for a grant and I get awarded the grant, but KB Jr. does the work better than me, and I got $2 million, why not give him $100,000 to do the work for me and be able to write down everything he's doing and keep track with it.
Can I just add
Sure, those are-
like two things? So I know that we're mentioning sam.gov, grants.gov. I think another approach, and this is more for organizations that are interested in sort of incrementally building, but there is something called seed funding, where you have some foundations that specialize in funding small projects or organizations that are just starting out. So for those that are interested in sort of starting from scratch, or that are starting from scratch, that might be another avenue. And I think ultimately we're talking about two types of funding streams, right? Government and foundation. And I think it's often important to understand that the approaches, even though there's similarities, there are some differences, right? Foundations are going to want to know about your board and sort of how responsible you are. They often ask you, in addition to everything else, how much money does your board give to the organization? Because they want to know how much you trust in the work that you're doing and whether or not you yourself have skin in the game. If you don't have skin in the game, they're not going to want to fund your organization. So I think that that's something to think about, is how you sort of message around that. Whereas with government funding, you have to have your paperwork in order. And I know we were talking about grants.gov and sam.gov. The checklist of items that has to be submitted with that type of ask is a lot. And so I'm absolutely not discouraging anyone. I'm encouraging it, but just saying, know that your paperwork has to be in order. And oftentimes that's a barrier for businesses like ours, is that we don't have our paperwork in order. So make sure your paperwork is in order.
I love that. And I'm just going to co-sign what Shaka said. And I'll post in the chat some of the basics that you should have. And I know Skip can do it, but definitely if you have a business, there are, those you know, an address, a mailing address, you know, that you have an LLC, that you have a domain, a bank account. You need, there's certain things, there's like 8 essential things that you should have. And when you go fill out that SAM's, and that's one thing I love what Shaka said, don't get discouraged, but no, these are the basic things that you need to grow anyway. And there are some people who I know who've had a very good company for 15 years making a lot of money, but they don't have the basics. But that doesn't mean they don't need the basics. That just means they're doing it without the basics. So if you're in here and you don't have those things and you've been making money, this is just going to help you get better by getting those basics, getting those little nuggets. So yes, but don't be discouraged and say, well, I don't have it, but just say, these are some things I need to get on my checklist so I can up my game and get to another level. And I'm done.
Yes, indeed. So one of the things I did is I got a book, just a binder. And inside my binder, because people ask me to go to meetings, and I said, I don't know what they want. So inside the binder, I have all of my franchise tax boards. I have my Secretary of State, my certificate of liability insurance. I have 2 different city license right here, Department of Treasury, and articles of incorporation. And I have this book, so when I'm asked to go to meetings, I have no clue what the meeting is about, but I take my book with me. So if they say, well, where's your insurance? I have my insurance right here. If they say, well, we don't see you, we don't see your name in the Secretary of State, and I say, well, I can pull it up right here. You know, and that's so important. And they say, well, we need a copy of that. Yeah, you can take a copy. Just give me back my original, but you can have a copy. So what my board now says is that I'm old. You know, I was born before the cell phone. So they say, Skip, we don't walk around with books like that anymore. They say we put everything in a file. Skip, you can have a flash drive or you could have it on a file in your email. And when people ask you, you just pull up the file in the email. I'm sorry, but I was born in a time where we took our books with us. But still in all, it's so important to have everything that is asked, because that could be the determination of whether I get the money or don't get the money. So like I say, I have 34 different mouths to feed, and it's important that I do my due diligence, or I stop the cash flow for coming. And that's another thing as well, going back to George, because you asked the question, but the cash flow is so important. If I have a nonprofit and I'm waiting, so a lot of the work that I do, when I start work in January, I bill them before the 15th of February. And they respond by the 1st of March, but I might not get my check till March 30th. So what'll happen is I'm paying the lights, I'm paying the workers' comp insurance, I'm paying the payroll taxes, I'm paying for everything until I get that money. And even as I said, even with the federal grant that I got from Karen Bass, it's been 3 years and I still haven't gotten it. So I have to create a cash flow. That's whether it's a profit or nonprofit, that cash flow is important. And starting off small, it could actually take the organization down. You know, it could take the organization down if I'm going 3 or 4 months. There's a rail line out here. LA Metro just created a rail line that goes down Crenshaw, and they asked us to put ambassadors out there, you know, for safety. They want to get away from using police. So I hired 20 people and put them out there. And then I realized that 20 people working 80 hours, you know, for a month, I felt like I was being robbed, even though they were doing a great job. I looked at the bank account of Second Call and I said, man, I can't afford it. So can I get what they call a net 30? Can I get a payroll check every 30 days? And they were like, no, it takes us about 45 days to process. So we could probably get you a check every 70 days. So I have to put myself in a position to be able to pay for the amount of people in that time period. So that's another thing to think about when you have a nonprofit and want to just jump right in and get to work. Are you able to pay the workers' comp, which is ridiculously high, to pay the insurance? In California, I have to pay $2 million worth of insurance for just general liability. And if I got directors and officers insurance, that's about another $1 million. So it's so much to actually run a nonprofit.
He gets to speak for the volleyball
that I would rather
27 million
work for a nonprofit and learn all the things I need to learn prior
Make sure you're
to
please muted. Mute your phone, please.
What's most striking
You're
to
not
me
speaking.
the news. But so I would just think about that. I would think about, am I really ready and prepared to jump in 10 toes deep?
Hey, Skip, this is Paulette again. Question, when you're a new nonprofit, who should you be making relationships with and how? Do you call them? Do you show up? Do you email? Like who is important? Who should you be making relationships with? And
So
telling,
if I was
this story.
if I was in Chicago, I would make relationships with the people who are getting the money, the people who say they're out there doing the work. So if you're out there with the young women, I would find out who says they're working with young women. And I would start talking with them and partnering with them. I would also build a relationship. I would go to city council meetings. I would see where the city council give the money when they're talking about violence reduction, who gets the money and why. So I would build a relationship with city council and ask them, hey, come see my sisters, come out and see me and my sisters and what we do. So I would invite them out. I would invite out, if you can, get to the mayor, get to the people who are part of the city that say that they're the part of violence reduction, and show them what your part is so that they can start talking about you guys. I'm gonna share something with you that Harry Belafonte shared with me. He said that Paul Robeson told him, don't sing your own song. So he's sitting there saying, Dale, Dale, the song, right? And Paul Robeson said, man, don't sing your own song. So the part of building that relationship is so that other people will sing your song. Other people in the city of Chicago will be saying, hey, do y'all know Paulette and her girls and what they doing? The Steppers or, whatever. And people will want to tell your story. And so that either comes from city council or people who are close to city council, the council members, and other people who are doing the work. Have them sell you, sing your song.
I'd also like to add, Paula, that we already singing your song, and Seal has already agreed to partner with your organization with some things that we're getting involved in. We're just putting it together now.
Okay.
So you probably have an idea where we're going with it, but we already intend on partnering with you, your program, and and merging it with some other sports and activities that are going on. We'll talk more. We'll be talking shortly. I've spoken to Sam, and we'll some more. But this is one of the things that we do, is that we partner with each other and with each other's cause, and it makes it a bigger picture overall, and we get more access to more things. So we will definitely be talking probably this week, within the next week, and we'll talk about what my plans, what thoughts I had surrounding the organization, Seal, and the things that we're doing as well.
Okay, I look forward to it. And
Thank
I'm
you
sorry
so
about
much.
my background change. It's just that I'm in the car now, so.
Thank you.
Real quick, Mr. Townsend, Special Ed, thank you for this. I gotta go serve my people, man. I got a Zoom of people on parole. So we start at 8. I just want to thank you for the information. I can't wait for the next one. I wish I had the time to stay on here because this is mind blowing. You know what I mean? And I think that we need this type of information for our people to constantly keep on growing so that we can continue that cyclical nature of success. So thank y'all for this. I'm gonna log off, but I'm definitely here for the next one. I appreciate y'all time.
Peace.
George, real quick, George, did you say you were a probation officer?
No, I work with probation and parole, but what I do is I'm a director of an employment program. So I get them right, get their minds right. So as they coming out, get them ready and get them set so that they I use a lot of self-reflection through hip hop, through spoken word, and just getting it right so that they're not just going out there feeling defeated, but they also feel confident about themselves.
Yes, indeed. I appreciate it because probation and parole got a lot of money too.
Yes.
The question you asked, Paula, probation has all the money in California. Here in LA, LA County probation has $52 million that was hidden, and they just didn't give it to the community or nothing. So that's another place to look for money, is probation
Yep.
and parole.
Yeah,
Working
definitely.
with the
Thank y'all.
district attorney.
I
Appreciate you, George.
y'all, Ms. Shaka.
Thank you,
Thank you for
George,
your
and
information.
we look forward to your town hall meeting and
Oh
your
yeah,
building
I
site.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. We definitely, I'm here to build.
Yes, indeed.
Positive energy always causes elevation. Y'all, peace.
Yes, indeed. All right, well, I think we know where the money is. Probation has it. The city has it. It's just a matter of getting to it, being prepared to get to it, and being able to partner with people. Being able to partner with those who truly believe in your dreams and the goals. So that was real big. Special Ed already singing Paula's song, The Wonderful Thing.
Man, and I encourage anyone else here with any organizations, whether you hear something that is of interest and is something you want to bring into your city, your town, your community, partner up, see how you can make it happen. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yes,
Absolutely. Second that and say that the whole collaboration of SEAL and Hip Hop Alliance is to do things like this, is to be able to offer the information as well as the collaboration so that we can sing and praise each other's songs, just as you described, because you're absolutely right. What Harry Belafonte was taught is what we need to learn. We need to be able to praise each other. We need to be able to sing each other's songs.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
So with that said, everyone, this is Curtis Blow. Just want to say thank you to everyone for joining the call today. Very informative, very inspiring, motivating, man, positive, incredible call. But I would like to say to everyone, please, whatever organization you are a part of, can you jot it down in the chat right now? What organization you represent or you own or you are the leader of? Give us the contact information, email, and just jot down a line or two about what the organization is about. And so we can have your contact information and we can spread it around to everyone. And, you know, that's what we do at the Hip Hop Alliance, is connect the dots and make sure we have an alliance, unity, everyone together. We are better together. So please jot it down in the chat right now before we get out. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Elder Curtis.
Thank you, Elder.
Yes.
We really quickly, we did drop a form in there. It's similar to the form. We're going to continue to drop this form for anyone that hasn't filled it out. It's exactly what Elder Curtis was referring to. It's a contact sheet. So if you can fill it out, it makes everything very simple. And then we can convert that into a spreadsheet like we've been doing. And it'll help us keep things organized and know where everybody stands and how we can help each other. So the form, I just dropped it. There's a link there. All you do is click the link. It opens up, you fill it out, and we'll have everything nice and neat tucked away. And we provide the information for anyone here that needs it. If you want to reach out to anyone in the group, anyone that wants to work with each other, and Elder Curtis and the Hip Hop Alliance and the Stop the Violence movement, this is what this is all from. This is one of the ways that we will stop the violence, is by knowledge, education, and people being able to do more for them, for the communities they're in, and for the organizations that they have, for whatever your cause is. So that's why we're all here. So I want to thank y'all, you know, and this will continue. Skip, I'm sure, has more information he'd like to impart. We just don't want to inundate everyone's time. So we try to spread it out as, you know, as best we can so that you can all attend at a suitable time. But I would definitely like to thank Skip, and I would like to thank Elder Curtis for bringing Skip to our attention so that we could even provide this platform for him, because he Elder Curtis called me and explained what Skip was doing out there, and I felt that it was so important for us to be able to share. And this proves it. This proves that when we all can put our minds together and our knowledge together, we can share and build and grow greater. So if there's anything we can do for each other, we all have the network here. We can all reach out to one another. There's a form, like I said, and the form is in the chat now, and it will be available. I want to thank the Hip Hop Alliance once again, everybody on the line from the SEAL organization. We just helping to keep everything organized and in order. And Skip, we'll circle back and we'll schedule your next session, because I definitely know you have a lot more to share. I'm looking forward to it myself.
I appreciate it. And I want to thank everybody for allowing me the opportunity. Thank you all.
Right on, right on. Thank you, Skip. So what about, before we get out of here, what about the Stop the Violence movement and the compilation, the album that we're doing? Ed, you want to submit or at least give the email out, info@hiphopalliance.org, but tell us about the project.
I'm going to tell you guys about the project. So basically, you all are familiar with self-destruction, the Stop the Violence movement from decades ago. Well, we're reviving movement, period, with today's culture and the people involved. So Elder Curtis, KRS, Chuck D, myself, and that Hip Hop Alliance are leading the charge, along with SEAL, which is this is what we're doing here with this education portion. Education is one of the most important parts of stopping violence, is to show you why and how. So this is what we're doing here. We're helping the cause. So send your beats, any producers that are involved. And I know we're here discussing some organizational things, but there are people here, still some producers and artists on the line, because we're all engaging in philanthropy as well and organizations as well. So send your beats to info@hiphopalliance.org. And any artists interested in participating in the Stop the Violence album, send your information to info@hiphopalliance.org with the subject Stop the Violence album, and just explain, who you are, what you want to, contribute. And then if you're a producer, just send those MP3s, send them on in, and we'll all be reviewing them and starting the recording process. Everyone's involved. KRS is involved. This knowledge cipher here is a specific topic, but overall with the Stop the Violence movement, I still want to encourage everyone to send in their music. Any artists that want to participate, join in. We would like to get this done in a reasonable amount of time. We all music professionals, so we can get this done rapidly if you all participate. So yes, I would like to once again thank you. Anybody would like to say anything before we depart? Now would be the time, and we will reconvene this session with Skip at another time. I will put it on the calendar. The calendar will be available on hiphopalliance.org as well as sealartsandliteracy.org. Okay, and we'll be sending out messages and emails, like when you fill out this form that was dropped in the chat, I'll drop it again. You fill out the form and it will give us the information so that we can keep you abreast, keep you updated on all the sessions. We have other sessions with other subject matter. So I suggest, we all join, stay tuned. If you see an email from the Hip Hop Alliance or SEAL, Special Ed Arts and Literacy, please pay attention, and this is what it will comprise of. So, and thank you all. Anybody want to say peace before we go? Peace, peace, peace.
Hey, Ed, this is Kokalani. I just wanted to chime in because I was looking in the chat. Again, the hiphopalliance.org. Make sure you sign up there. And the email address is that Special Ed said regarding if you want to contribute production. But I also just want to reiterate the link that, and I posted it in the chat, When you click on that link, that'll give you a form where you can put everything about your organization, your phone number, your email, the city you're located in, what special skills you can contribute. It's all right there. So I see a lot of people putting little paragraphs in the chat, which is great, but we highly encourage you to click on the link, because when you put all your information there, it goes to a database and everything's sorted out. And it, you know, for you or your company, what area you want to contribute in, and your special skills that you can bring to the movement. So again, I'll post it again in the chat, but it's already in the chat. Okay, I'm done.
Hey, man, I just wanted to say, like I said at the outset, thank you, brothers and sisters, everybody that's been instrumental in putting this together, man. We are all, pioneers and testament to the excellence that we had to overcome back in the day with the Stop the Violence movement, man. We're here today with our voices. So thank you all for using your voices, your notoriety, your special skills to make this happen. I'm excited, man, and looking forward to working with all of you, man. So peace. You guys stay safe. I can't wait for the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, everyone, have a great night.
Oh, dang, I missed the meeting.
It's recorded. We'll be posting it. It'll be available for viewing. We'll give it to Elder Curtis to post up on the hiphopalliance.org website, as well as sealartsandliteracy.org website. So it'll be on 2 websites. The links will be here so we can retain the information and use it and understand what we've learned. So fear not. We got you.
Okay. That sounds like special ed. That's special ed?
Yeah, that's special ed. Peace to you.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all going to be recorded and posted up. It's going to be archived. This is a part of educating ourselves, right? This class will be in session.
Okay. Appreciate y'all, man. I'm sorry I'm late, but I'm
worry. All right, y'all. Once again, thanks. We will be keep you posted. Make sure you post up your information in the forums. And I love y'all. And that's why I'm doing this. I'm here just so y'all, can better yourselves and help better somebody else too, So God bless y'all and walk straight.
Peace, family.
Right on. God bless.
Peace.
God bless.
Peace.
All right, y'all. Peace.